Hello everybody, how's it going today? Glowplasma 231 here, back in about Weekly Shonen Jump, issue number 14 of good old 2025. And before we even hop into this issue, let me quickly just say how good of an issue of Weekly Shonen Jump this was this week. I mean, oh my gosh, this issue was amazing. I actually just finished reading it, maybe 3 or 4, probably even less than 3 minutes ago is the time of recording this video. I sort of read it, was like, man, such a good issue of Jump. And granted, we do have a few stinkers in here, as we'll be getting into. Astro Royale wasn't amazing. It was, very mediocre, all things considered. Not even mediocre. It was just hey, you want a repeat of the Tokyo Revengers manga? You want to see Mikey's whole storyline of Draken and all of the other characters and the future story along with the past story? Hey, if you just want to read a better version of Astro Royale, just read Wakui's other series, Tokyo Revengers. I promise you, you will, not regret it at the end of the day. But, overall, but really besides for Astro Royale, I thought all of the other series were really awesome and really interesting this week. I mean, even, Kill Blue, which I always rag on for, not being that good, had, me going, man, I actually really like this chapter. And, all the other things like Kagurabachi, One Piece, Ichi to Witch, all of the other series that you can see here, 15 of them this week. Man, I didn't actually realize there were that many series that I was sitting down and covering. I mean, I guess I did whenever I had to open all of them up here on my screen. I don't even know. Can you guys see the top of my screen for that? Let me open up OBS. No, you actually can't. All right, let me quickly just move it. Yeah, so, oh, there we go, yeah. So these are all of the various things that I go and record on. It's I just move it up for the issue of hey, let's, oh gosh, why am I should not be messing with OBS while I'm recording a video. But as you guys saw, I have all my tabs lined up there at the top of the screen. I'll be clicking on them periodically as I normally do while recording these videos. And if you guys don't know how this series works, it's actually, very simple. It's just, I go through and talk about all 15 series that I read in Weekly Shonen Jump this week, give my thoughts on them. Some of them will be a whole lot more, some surface-level thoughts. Some of them will be much deeper, and hey, I actually really enjoyed this chapter, Witch Watch. Oh, we will be talking about some Witch Watch in this video. Hey, Ruri Dragon, we may bring it up, but we may not have a detailed, long conversation on it. But hey, either way, I'm going to be going through all 15 of these chapters and then ranking them from what I thought was the worst chapter of the week, our worst chapter of the week, all the way up to the best chapter of the week and all of the other spaces in between. And we will also be picking a character of the week of, who was the character who I sat down and was man, I thought that was pretty good. And really, without any further ado, so we can just go and hop straight into that. First, we need to talk about a very cinematic chapter of good old Kagurabachi. Because, of course, this Kagurabachi chapter mainly revolves around the whole idea of, hey, we have this battle between Chihiro and Hirohiko, and the two of them are getting ready to clash with each other, and through the essence of this chapter, we learn a whole lot more of the details about the EI White Purity style, of course, made by the swordsman Itsuro Shirakai, if I'm not mistaken, is how you pronounce his name, but we pretty much learn a bunch about him. We even see his character design in a very, little bit of a cool flashback that we get. I don't even know if it's, I guess it would be considered a flashback, even though it's sort of also maybe it's just an explanation of it at the same time. Either way, a really cinematic chapter of Kagurabachi, all ending up on the fact hey, Chihiro, through visualizing Iori's EI technique that of course she awakened last chapter, Chihiro's now being able to go through and he ends up slicing through Hirohiko, probably not killing Hirohiko, being hey, Hirohiko is still contracted the Kume Yori and Xenoboy. It's hey, Hirohiko's not out of the battle yet, but still it's this whole idea of hey, the battle's over for now. And honestly, that's all I have to say about Kagurabachi. It was a really good chapter. And hey, I just actually recorded a 25 or so minute video. I actually haven't edited it yet. And I made a lot of mistakes in the filming of that video. My words just weren't coming out right. I was flubbing a bunch of lines, so to say. And the video recording was 30 minutes long, so let's see how long it is by the time I get it edited. But that should be up on the channel before this Weekly Shonen Jump issue review, if I'm not mistaken. If it's not, be looking for the Kagurabachi Chapter 70 chapter review on the channel here at some point. And hey, if you're subscribed and turn on the notification bell, you can get that stuff. I normally don't talk about that this early in the video, but hey, yeah, it'd be pretty neat. But hey, yeah. At the end of the day, Kagurabachi was very, very good and definitely a high-tier chapter for sure. Next up is One Piece, and we had a very interesting chapter of One Piece, which is all about Zoro and Luffy really going down. They got the key from Scopper Gaban last chapter, and they are going down to free Loki. And in the process of this chapter, we really cut around to all of the various places on Elbaf, where we see like, hey, this is what everybody's up to. And the chapter title is An Older Woman, which is just a joke that King Jarul has at one part in this chapter. But going through it, we see like where the Atom Tree is. We see that like Frankie and Ripley, if I'm not mistaken, is what her name are all going around, and like Frankie sees that there's been a massive thing of the tree, or a massive part of the Atom Tree like completely cut off. And pretty much Ripley just says like, hey, it was a village that got set on fire, and pretty much with the Atom Tree, the fire will not go out whatsoever. So they had to pretty much cut it down and send it into the ocean, right? And she pretty much says like, hey, you could say that fire and lightning are the biggest weaknesses to all of Elbaf, which obviously like isn't a death flag or anything whatsoever, saying like, yeah, fire and lightning aren't good for this place. And then we're going to see like the new two, St. Somers and St. Killingham, if I'm not mistaken. One of them has like fire-based powers, or maybe Enel comes down from the sky and like uses his Goro Goro or the lightning fruit on the island of Elbaf. Like, that's really just like a big death flag of like, hey, this stuff isn't good. Like, oh boy, would you look at all that? Like, it's just really funny to see. We see that Usopp's hanging around and like knocks a sword on King Jarul's head after he says that he's into older women. After Usopp's like, hey, older women don't exist, and everybody sort of like talks with him about that. Really, we just see that Gerd is tending to the people who Roto brought back from the castle, who got very injured by St. Garling, or not St. Garling, Shamrock. I don't know why I always forget his name. I mean, I'm recording this video on St. Patrick's Day. Like, how could I forget about all of that, right? Yeah, it's Shamrock. I need to fully remember his name. Is like, yes, St. Figurland Shamrock. That is who that is, right? Going through all of it, Gerd pretty much sees that Roto is hiding something, and eventually she and the rest of the New Age giant pirates all go down to where Loki is currently being freed by both Zoro and Luffy. They're having a bit of a back and forth about all of this various stuff, like, hey, I want to save him, but like, hey, we probably shouldn't. It's a lot of like interesting things going on between them, and I honestly really like how Zoro is acting in this chapter, like, still going into Luffy's whims, but is also not. I really like that characterization of Zoro here in the moment. The pirate ship comes crashing down. Luffy ends up using his Gum Gum Balloon ability to like be able to save all of the people here, right? And at the very end of the chapter, Harujin's like, hey, I've known Loki since we were children. Like, you should have. You guys are brothers, are you not, right? And he's like, hey, if he told you anything that made him sound sympathetic, then he's lying. He's the kind of beast who will kill a friend in a so-called moment's notice, right? He's like, hey, he's an enemy to the whole world. And Zoro's like, oh, well, I hate to break to you, it's a little too late, as we see that Loki stands up in this moment. And man, is it a really, really cool panel where we see he just stands up, and he was pretending to be asleep the entire time. Like, it's really cool. We also see that Loki goes and grabs his sword that's beside of him, and we see that Harujin's like, hey, Loki, take your hand off of Ragnir, and it's like, dun, 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 dun. So, really, like, awesome, cool thing we get here. Like, I really love the moment where Loki just stands up, and it's like, holy shit, he's here, and it doesn't look too good, but really, really good chapter of One Piece. Honestly, we're just going to probably just, like, move it over. Like, it was a very good chapter, all things considered, right? Ichi, to which was a very simple chapter, all things considered, this week, mainly focusing on Gokuraku the Brutalizer, right? His name was Gokuraku. Yeah, Gokuraku. I've got it said right here on my spreadsheet, right? Yeah, it was all about Gokuraku and Ichi sort of having some male bonding time, right? As we see that Gokuraku is like leaving the entire area with Ichi after all of this stuff. We see that Deskross tries to use a few different spells to pretty much like bind and keep Gokuraku in an area. She uses this really cool turtle magic, which she calls the Turtle, and also a ding-dong, like some massive bell capture magic. But we see that Gokuraku is just like so strong and crazy that he ends up breaking out of it. We also see him use some more of his power where he like kisses this ring and he just goes like, Cinco rate, 20%, and then just goes through and like does some massive damage attack. It seems like a pretty cool thing of like, hey, I wonder how his power works. We get a little bit more in depth of like how he's able to interact with magics, as we see that he has used some magic items to go and actually, what does he say here? He's pretty much like augmented his body, so he's able to touch magics and sort of interact with them. As we see, he's also got like this Griever bracelet on both of his arms and like rings that connect to him, along with this like weird crystalline structure on his back. It's a little interesting, all things considered, right? There's a little bit of a thing with the goat where him and Ichi bond over like Gokuraku, like very clearly kills this goat, and then Ichi's able to come through and help him butcher it up and all of this other various stuff, right? And they sort of, like I said, have some bonding time over it. I really like the scene wherever Gokuraku is coming through and, like, they need a place to sleep for a night, so Gokuraku just walks up to a little bit of a mountain hill, and he just, like, punches a hole in it, and oh my god, look at that. They now have shelter for a night. It's like, oh my gosh, this guy's crazy powerful, right? We then see that Gokuraku pretty much wants the entire explanation of everything, and he very clearly gets it. Of course, like, Ichi killed Uro, obtained his power pretty much and became a witch that way. And there's another really cool moment where Gokuraku is just like, oh, so you were telling me this is the thing that made you a magic. So what if I come up and he, like, opens his mouth and he bites, like, the little vestige of Uro that exists on Ichi, like, in this moment. And Oro's like, oh, what the hell, right? And Gokuraku's pretty much like, hey, I want to become a witch one day too. Like, there's somebody that I want to punch, right? We then see that the two of them both go to sleep. And at night, we see that Gokuraku wakes up at some point, and we see that Uro comes out of Ichi's body and just says like, hey, you want to be a witch, right? Then I'll make you a deal. First, all you gotta do is kill this kid. As Uro sort of points down to Ichi, and we see that Gokuraku just has this weird looking expression on his face. So, is Gokuraku going to attempt to kill Ichi? No, I don't think he's going to whatsoever, but still, honestly, a really interesting chapter. Like, while it doesn't feel like there's a lot of like plot progression in this chapter, like, I think I read this chapter in like maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Like, it was a very quick chapter, all things considered, but also, like, as Ichi the Witch normally it was a very good chapter for sure. Ruri Dragon is up next, and honestly, this is a extremely simple chapter of Ruri Dragon, being that we haven't had one in like, all right, let's scan all of the things. Gosh, how long has it been? I guess it's only been 2 weeks. I guess it's felt a whole lot longer for me since I am recording these videos a whole lot later, and like I read that issue. Oh no, I typed stuff in wrong. Let's not touch my computer anymore. I recorded that video in like 2/16 whenever the chapters originally came out, and now it's like a month later, so it feels like it's been a long extended time between this Ruri Dragon chapter and the last one. But really the whole idea about it is like, hey, Ruri has pretty much activated, I guess is the best way, or awakened, I guess is a better way to put it, her Daemon Fire ability, pretty much like, hey, for the rest of her life, she's going to be constantly burning and on fire. And the whole thing in this chapter is between her and Kashio pretty much going back and forth and discussing like, hey, I may be this type of dragon and all of this, and I don't want people just to see me, and it's just the way I want to live. And Kashio also coming back with some rebuttals. Let me just open up the chapter. It's going to be a whole lot easier here. Of her just going like, hey, whatever you do, like, we want to wait for you, and we're going to feel bad if you don't come and see us at least. So, like, hey, you need to come and see us. Showing like, hey, there's a little bit of, like, this thing going on between both Ruri and Kashio, and hopefully it'll be solved by the end of, like, a few chapters from now, right? But either way, even though Ruri's got this Daemon Fire currently going on with her, there's one good way to suppress it, and the end of the chapter is Ruri running into a giant pool of water and jumping into it, as she just thinks, like, hey, I'm not human, so I'm gonna quit acting like it. And this is where we end this chapter of Ruri Dragon, in this very cool moment we see on like the final page of this chapter. Ruri's got this very determined look on her face, and like her draconic abilities are like flaring up all around her. Honestly, a fine enough chapter of Ruri Dragon. Like, it wasn't my favorite, but it also like wasn't the worst chapter this week either. We'll put Ruri Dragon right in that ballpark area. Kill Blue is up next, and like going into this chapter, we just sort of like fully got like introduced, or like, I guess introduced is the best word. We finally met Noren's father in this moment, who I don't know if we have ever gotten a name for him. I don't know if I just want to call him Noren's dad. Let me actually pause the video for a second. Let me go look this up online. So I tried looking up that information on the Kill Blue wiki, and I really couldn't find anything. And if the Kill Blue wiki doesn't have the information, I'm guessing actually nobody does. But I mean, really, I don't care too much. I guess we'll just call Mr. Mitsuoka, I guess, right? Pretty much this whole chapter is centered around the whole idea of like, hey, Mr. Mitsuoka's like, hey, I'm fine with you being my daughter's boyfriend and all this. And whenever he goes and takes him to a bar, and it's actually in his office. And it's this really cool thing to where Ogami's like, oh man, this bar is like completely awesome. Like, I'd kill to have something like this. Like, it's all top of the shelf stuff too. As he talks a bunch about all this various alcohol, right? And I love that Mr. Mitsuoka is just like, oh, you're awfully well acquainted with alcohol for a middle schooler, right? And Noren's like, come on, Ogami, like, what the fuck are you doing, right? Pretty fun, right? But overall, we see that Noren's like, hey, I'm sure you've all seen all this by now, but I don't consent to whatever you're doing for me. And Mr. Mitsuoka's like, hey, it's not that I or the company planted something in you, it's just that it's been born into you at birth, and it's not something I can necessarily tell you about right now, very much leaving that whole condition on the table. The conversation eventually devolves into the whole idea of like why the Mitsuoka challenges are going on, and it gets related back to the Kodoku tradition in Japan, where it's like, hey, for uses in like curses and all that other various stuff, like you put all these poisonous insects together, and the one that survives is obviously like the cream of the crop. And that's pretty much what the Noren, or what the Mitsuoka challenges are pretty much for, is to have this whole idea of like, hey, the people at the top are the one, and the people who actively go and end up winning all of these various things are like, hey, they're the cream of the crop, all things considered, right? Pretty much Mr. Mitsuoka says like, hey, until Noren is of marrying age, of course, her 18th birthday, she won't, none of these challenges will stop. And Ogami's like, hey, but I'm serious about marrying Noren. I've already proved myself enough, haven't I? Like, anything I can do to sort of sway your opinion. And pretty much Mr. Mitsuoka just is like, hey, well, maybe I can't change the process, but I can add new stipulations, right? He's like, hey, if that's satisfactory, maybe we can sit down here and talk this out. And he's like, hey, what qualities does a person need to become a great leader? I would answer talent, respect, and luck, right? As he pretty much goes into all of these various things like, hey, it seems like already that you would need the talent to do all of this. And by beating all these other people, it seems like you already have the talent, right? To gain respect, you need to become the Rika Middle School Student Council President, right? While continuing to win all of your challenges. And if you can attain that title, I'll confirm you as Noren's fiance, right? And the two of them sort of had a little bit of a conversation. Ogami's like, hey, I will absolutely do this, right? And the final thing is, we see that Mr. Mitsuoka is like, hey, great. He's like, hey, this is quite the nice young man you found here, Noren, right? But now, while you're here, shall I test the final quality I mentioned? Luck. As we see that he bends over like under the counter stall and pulls out a revolver, a good old 6-shooter, and just says, oh dear, have you ever heard of a game called Russian roulette? And it's like, what in the world? This is off the wall and crazy. Like, I know you guys can't see it, but I've got like a massive smile on my face because this is like, oh my god, this is like absolutely insane and stupid, right? And Noren's like, oh, is that a gun? Like, of course, like, sweet summer child. Like, you don't know what Ogami's been up to here. Actually, you saw Ogami holding a gun in his hand like a chapter or two ago, but like, whatever, right? Mr. Mitsuoka's like, hey, it's a toy, of course. Ogami picks up the gun and realizes, like, oh, no, this is a legitimate revolver, right? It has one bullet in it, right? And Ogami puts it up to his head and just says, like, hey, thank you for all your hospitality today, sir. I'll be getting out of your hair shortly, as he puts the gun up to his head. But he says, like, hey, but I will be back, and when I am, it'll be as the student council president and Noren's official fiance. As he fires the gun, and nothing absolutely happens here, right? Mr. Mitsuoka pulls the gun back from him and starts to put it up to his head, just saying like, hey, it wouldn't be fair if you were the only one that has to do this now, would it? And in this moment, he gets ready to sort of go and pull the trigger as Noren grabs the gun out of his hand and puts it up to her head and be like, hey, if I'm going to get married, I'll be the Juzo because I'm on his side 100%. And both Ogami and Mr. Mitsuoka are like, oh my god, as Ogami sort of realizes, oh wait, like, there wasn't no trick to that. Like, I legitimately just survived Russian roulette. But either way, that's pretty much the end of the chapter. It's a little bit more of like, hey, these are the ideals that we are going to be heading towards in the future. And honestly, man, this was a great Kill Blue chapter. Like, I normally make fun of Kill Blue because, like, sometimes it can be really good and entertaining. I mean, as we see here earlier in the year, like, we had Kill Blue, Kill Blue, Kill Blue, and then it's been ranking about third from the bottom about every other week since then. I mean, if we go back to 2024 also, I mean, you could also see, like, in almost any of these weeks, it's in the bottom of, like, 5 or so. And coming all the way here to back, like, hey, Kill Blue, on the bottom, right? But I'm going to go and say it. This week's Kill Blue chapter is going pretty high up because, like, I know my entire generation of, like, whatever am I, like, Gen X or Gen Z, whatever. Bro, I don't even know what generation I am. I'm gonna look this up real quick. What generation is... We're going to see this. Oh, yes, I'm part of Gen Z. That is what I'm part of. All the thing about generation is, like, the aura of all of these various characters. And normally, I don't give a shit about that. It's like, why should I care? But in this moment, Ogami had aura, and you have to admit it, putting the gun up to his head and being like, hey, I'll be back, and next time, I'm going to achieve all of these goals. Kill Blue was just, like, an amazing chapter this week. What can I say, right? Sid Crafts is going to be a little bit of a chapter I have not as much to say about. It is a predominantly Lulu chapter, except we also have a lot of stuff with not only Elio, but also, oh god, what's her name? Sophie Flamberry involved in here too. As pretty much as the chapter just goes on, there's a bunch of, like, weird situations where, of course, hey, currently Lulu's whole goal is, like, seduce, I almost wanted to call him Ogami, Sid. I don't know why I forgot the main character's name, even though I don't like him because he's honestly a really stupid character. But her whole thing is, like, to humiliate him and pretty much, like, bring her over and, like, win in this final battle or whatever. There's some big reveals about all of this stuff is like, hey, man, so Flay likes somebody and is promised to marry them someday. Lulu figures out it is Sid, along with, like, hey, we all know Elio likes him because, like, at one point in the chapter, like, she is walking around and seeing what Elio is up to, and we see that Elio is just sniffing Sid's cloak. Like, what is wrong with these women, right? But, like, going through the entire chapter, it was honestly fine with the whole thing of, like, hey, at the end of the day, Lulu wants to be the one to get him first, even though she doesn't realize she's doing it for maybe a little bit of love, besides for just the ways of her phantom thiefness, right? It was a okay chapter, Sid Craft, but also, like, not the best or the worst. Embers is up next, and this is an entire chapter about the second half of the soccer match here. Really, I don't know enough about soccer or football as the rest of the world calls it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be making that joke every single, or not even joke, whatever you would call that thing. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be making that literally every single week until this series is over, pretty much, right? But the whole idea here is like, hey, they're getting ready to squirt a ball. They're going to get over Snake Boy, what is his name? Inazaki or whatever it is. Going to get him good. And like, hey, Takami's going to make the final goal at the end of the day after Haitani ends up stealing the ball from Inazaki, I think is the name, right? Still, even though I don't fully remember all of the names of all of the various characters and all of that, still a very good chapter of Embers, and it really had me on my seat like, man, this is really cool. I like seeing where this is going. And honestly, I've never read, like, a full-on, really long-running sports manga. I mean, really the most experience I have is with Green Greens that ran in Weekly Shonen Jump from, like, 2023 to, like, mid-2024. So, like, yeah, I'm not really so versed in all of that, so to say. But, hey, either way, really good chapter of Embers. We'll just move it over just like that, right? Good old SOB in Our Star of Beethoven is up next, and honestly, I have some conflicting thoughts on this chapter. Number one, we open up in this really interesting thing of like, hey, the music instructor is going through and is watching the performance that Beethoven is putting on. And we see a lot of really awesome illustrations regarding Beethoven in this thing of like, hey, he is going through, he's playing the piano very, very well. And I really like the, oh no, why can I not remember my words? My words, why can I not think, analogy is the word I was looking for. I don't know why I could not think of that word for the life of me. I really like the analogy that the teacher guy at the school makes to, like, a well-conditioned machine of, like, hey, even under, like, all of the screeching under the weight of it and all of that other various stuff, like, hey, Beethoven's playing is still extremely good, even if it does have a few of these weirder aspects to it. Just a really good way of, like, not only describing playing the piano, but a way that sort of makes it very interesting and visually cool to pretty much see in the moment, right? Beethoven's just playing the piano incredibly well, and he almost looks like a monster or a demon playing it almost. Like, it's just really interesting, and, like, the panel we get on page 8 is, like, very interesting of, like, him just smashing his hands into the piano. It's like, oh my god, this is crazy. Too bad I can't hear what it sounds like, even though, like, I very much could, but, like, you guys get what I'm going for, right? The whole idea here is eventually the teacher guy's like, hey, I'm late for my class. Yaso, I will let you take the entrance exam to be accepted into the school. So I guess that he probably saw like, hey, this kid was like so enthralled by this guy and he decided to become a pianist again. So maybe I'll sort of like let him do that. I guess it was his whole entire goal. We then see the main female character, I'm guessing, of the series named Kahoin again. We see that she seems like she may have a crush or something on Yaso, being to, like, she's, like, sitting closer to him on the bench or all of that various stuff, right? But the end of the chapter was the thing that I mostly found, like, man, I sort of want to see where this goes next, because, like, as you're sitting on the bench and, like, everybody's like, oh, man, Yaso's coming back, like, this is crazy, right? We see that this guy walks up, and they just go, like, oh, what is this? I was wondering what all the fuss was about. Can somebody please tell me why here, of all places, there's a big, fat loser? As we see that, Yaso's just like, oh, Sakami. As we understand that this is Reiro Academy Piano Department second-year student representative, Claude Sakami. The guy who beat Yaso in the piano competition that made him, like, lose all of his faith and all of that. Really interesting, and just like the way this guy's portrayed. I want to read more and see what this guy's whole deal is, but like the rest of the chapter I'm just very conflicted on, and that's honestly the best things I can say about this series right now. We'll put Star of Beethoven right there. Astro Royale is going to put it on the bottom. As I mentioned earlier, this Astro Royale chapter legitimately just feels like the future timeline. I mean, like, hey, these characters almost look like each other, right? I know there's another guy in this tournament that really looked like Mikey from Tokyo Revengers, but it's like, hey, Shikaba is Mikey in this scenario. He's taking all and placing all of the burden on himself, and then when it comes to everybody else, he's pushing them away in all these other facets. And oh, Tiara is here. Do you know who Tiara looks like? Oh yeah, Tiara looks like Draken. Well, remember that point in Tokyo Revengers? Like, this is pretty early on in the series. After, oh, what's the main character's name of that? Takamichi, or yeah, I think it's Takamichi is what everybody calls him, is like the stupid name for him, but like, hey, either way. Takamichi goes through, he ends up saving Draken, and he gets back to the real world. Oh no, Draken is in prison, right? And it's the whole thing of like, oh, hey, please save Mikey for me. And oh man, Tiara says, hey, please save Shikaba for me. It's literally the same thing with just different characters. Yeah. As I said last week, if you have no good things to say about this series, then don't say them at all. And honestly, that's where I'm going to be. If it happens or something and this series gets even stupider from now on, like, I'm going to give the, what chapter are we on of this series right now? We are on chapter 43. I will give this chapter till chapter 50 or its first year anniversary. I guess its first year anniversary will come first. I'll give it to one of those 2 points to be like, hey, if I'm vibing with the series at that point, I will continue to read it. And if I'm not, I'm just going to drop it, because there's really no point for me to continue to read the series that I'm not enjoying whatsoever. And that's just really where I am with it. Next up is Hematin, and honestly, what a weird and fun chapter this was. Really, like, Iamori's homesick, and, like, when he's homesick, he's like, man, I need to get up out of bed and cook myself breakfast. And as he's getting out of bed to cook himself breakfast, he's coming out of his room, and he sees, oh, man, his father is here. And it's like, oh, man, look at Iamori's dad. He's this fun guy. He literally looks like Iamori, except he's just got, like, a really bad 5 o'clock shadow going on, and, like, we also see that this is where Iamori learned a lot of his house cleaning skills and all of this duty. Honestly, I just really love Iamori's dad in this chapter. It was just so fun to sort of come through and see all of his various experiences here, just like seeing everything about it. There's a lot of talk that his dad gives him about like, hey, I know it's your dream of owning a house someday, and when you do that, you'll need a leading lady, right? And this really awesome panel of both Iamori and his father sitting across from each other, and his father just acting so casual, like, hey, son, how are you doing, right? and Iomori's all like focused in being like he's in his he's a high school student or whatever it is, right? And honestly, it's just a really nice moment in between a few of them, right? Earlier in the chapter, we also had a few moments between all of the various girls that Iomori is sort of in with and all of this various stuff, right? As we see, like, hey, Kana's doing stuff, like, Yoshino's doing stuff, along with, Kanai, yeah, we have Kana, Kanai, and Yoshino. Yes, those are all of the main characters, Hamari, whatever you want to call her, those are our main girls here, right? And the whole thing is, like, they're all feeling bad for Iomori, and we also see that throughout the chapter, Iomori has been having thoughts about every single one of them in some ways, like, hey, if I ask Kanai out, then I wouldn't be able to clean houses for Kana or Yoshino. Like, he's got a lot of conflicting thoughts going on here. And eventually, the doorbell rings, his father gets up to get it, pretty much being that Iomori is sick. And eventually he's like, oh, actually, Iomori, you get the door, right? Iomori gets up and gets it, and sees the three of them standing outside the door. Of course, we see Kana, we see Yoshino, and we see Kanai, all standing here, and they're all holding these little gift bags for Iomori, right? Not only bringing over some stuff from the school, being that he missed the final day of, like, his school graduation ceremony and all of that stuff, which honestly sort of sucks to be like, man, the final day of school, I missed it because I was sick, like, I had no option, right? But all that to say, all these girls really do care for him, and we eventually see that Iomori goes back inside, he's like, hey, Dad, I'm going to take your advice. I'm going to have a really good summer break. And it's like, oh man, like, my heart's a-fluttering a little bit. That's really nice, Iomori. But, like, yeah, really good chapter of Himaten for sure. Ultimate Exodus Kyoshi is up next, and this is a chapter all about Jack, Joe, and Nihon still. You're going through finding Demon Lord Yaku Baraku, whatever his name was, going through, and they're fighting him, and we pretty much understand what, what's his name, Jack Joe's past was in this chapter of like, hey, he was the 5th ranking Demon Lord, but eventually he's like, man, I want to see what humans are all about. They've got this cool thing called manga, right? Which really reminds me, I've been reading a lot of the manga series called Twin Star Exorcist recently. It was a series that I had a little bit of a conflicting thoughts on back in the day. Like, I read it probably about 3 years ago or so, and I honestly didn't really enjoy my time reading it. I thought it was a really bad manga, and for a while, I even called it, like, my least favorite manga series of all time. But eventually, here recently, like, literally, like, 8 days ago, and I'm already like 100 chapters in, which is also like 25 or so volumes into this series. I'm like, man, let me reread it. And I'm going through and I'm rereading it, and there's a enemy in the series, one of the Basara, or Kagare as they're called in the Twin Star Exorcist universe. There's one of them, I honestly don't remember what they're all about, but they're like, hey, I like manga, and it's like, okay, that's a little bit of fun, or they like human possessions and all of that various stuff. Not trying to be too spoilerly here and all of that, but like, hey. Hey guys, editing Glowplasma shoots you one here, and by the time I'm editing this video, I actually just finished up Twin Star Exorcist, the manga I was just talking about, and honestly, just like a really quick, like, hey guys, read that series. It is extremely, extremely good. Granted, I don't think the first half is really as amazing as the later half. Really, like, the later half of the story is really what it solidified to me. Is like, man, I absolutely love this series. It was absolutely amazing, and like the ending made me cry. It was just like a really good manga. I know this is like a Weekly Shonen Jump show, and like this ran like Jump Squared and all of that, but like either way, go check out Twin Star Exorcist, and then finish watching this video or listening to it on podcasting platforms, whatever you're doing. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, check out the manga. It's really, really good. Really fun thing of Old Mexico Kyoshi learning that Jack Joe was that way, and there's a whole lot of things being talked about, like, hey, between Jack, Joe, and Nihon, like the two of them coming together and actually working together for this common goal, like, hey, wouldn't it be nice if Jack Joe wasn't an evil demon to begin with, right? And the whole idea is that he wasn't at all, and pretty much through the power of friendship, they're able to take down Yaku Baraku and end up saving the day pretty much here, right? As they exorcise the demon, they're like, hey, Kyoshi, did we do a good job? As they pretty much like pass out on the ground. Good chapter of Ultimate Exorcist Kyoshi. Akane Banashi is very much of the same that we have been seeing in the series for a while. It's like, hey, everything's going on because Akane has finished her performance of, what was the story called? Yawning Lessons, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was Yawning Lessons. And she's pretty much going through and like, hey, after she does her performance, everybody's so shocked about how good it really was. We see that Tyson Arakawa, who is the student who we seen that, oh no, what was his name? Why am I forgetting? Garaku? No, it's not Garaku. Giriko, yeah, Giriko. I don't know why I was like blanking on Giriko's name. Pretty much the one that, the guy that Giriko knew, and like Tyson, the guy who's also been watching Akane's performance here, he pretty much just says like, man, she's pretty good, right? And after this, all of the news of Akane being back on the mainland pretty much spreads like wildfire everywhere throughout, right? As by the end of this chapter, we have the introduction to the Futatsume arc begins after some narration, like, hey, after 3 years of training in France and a long Makura introduction, at long last, the Futatsume arc begins. As we pretty much see like all of the various characters we know and love in the series. We see Bakeru, we see Kyoji, we see Kojima, if I'm not, was that his name? Yeah, Kojima, no, Koguma, yeah, it's just Koguma. Giriko, of course, we see the Master Urara, we see Chocho, we see both Karashi and Hikaru, and we also see that none other than Kaisei is looking on at all of this too. It's just like, man, look how far this series has come. We're 150 chapters in, and it seems like this story is only just beginning. Akane Banashi had a really good chapter. Next up is Blue Box, which just was a really cute chapter about like, hey, the school year is almost over, and with that, Taiki and Shinatsu's time of being the first into the gymnasium every day is about to change pretty soon. And the whole crux of this chapter is eventually throughout. Why am I on the last week's Witch Watch chapter? What in the world? Like I said, the whole crux of this chapter is pretty much building up to the fact like, hey, also, oh gosh, let me just, my computer, what's happening to my computer? Okay, oh no, okay, can my computer work? Okay, there we go, we're working on it. I may cut that out, I may not, who knows, but the whole crux of this chapter, as I was getting to, is like, hey, whenever Chinatsu leaves, is Taiki going to be lonely in the gymnasium in the morning anymore, right? And that is like the main little bit of a message and cute moment that these two have in between each other, right? And the very end of the chapter is a little bit of a funny note of where, like, hey, Chinatsu and Taiki are both walking to school in the morning. Of course, Taiki lets Chinatsu walk in first. And after a little bit of a break, he comes back to walk in. But whenever he walks into the gymnasium, he's like, oh, wait a second. The girls' basketball team, like, is it here? I'm like, I could have sworn Shinatsu left earlier than me this morning. Like, what in the world, all of that stuff, right? As it looks like that Taiki needed a signature from his mom on some school paper, right? And he's like, hey, Mom, I need you to sign this. And his mom's like, hey, why'd you have to wait till all of the last second to sign all this and everything? It's a little bit of a funny moment, right? But as Taiki sort of walks in, we see that he sort of is like, man, like, the gym hasn't been this quiet in a long time. But he sees on one of the columns of the gym, there is a piece of paper, and on the piece of paper it says, hey, we have Chinatsu Kano. If you want her back, come to the far right warehouse. The Phantom Thief Steal. And Taiki's like, what is this? And that's where the chapter of Blue Box ends. Good chapter, Blue Box, what can I say? The Elusive Samurai is all about like, hey, Tokiyuki's going to face off with Fuyuki. Fuyuki did not teach Tokiyuki everything that Tokiyuki thought he did, and it looks like we're going to have a battle next chapter. That was the Elusive Samurai. I really have nothing else to say about it. Again, it was just like, hey, it was fine, not amazing though. And finally, we have Witch Watch, and as the chapter title insists, it is part 1 of the Cat and Wolf's Rondo. The beginning of this chapter is really just all of the various members of the Otagi household coming through and really informing Keigo of like, hey, we understand like this is who you are as a person, but it seems like you're honestly trying to be someone you're not in a way, right? And they're like, hey, Keigo, underneath your hipster persona, like, you try to be this person who you really aren't, and like everybody knows that you're a really cool guy underneath it, right? As like there's this really funny moment where Kanji just goes like, hey, a girl asked you to hang out the other day and you don't deny it, do you, right? And I really love that like Kanji's crying over it and Miharu's like, bro, like, do you really have to be crying and all that various stuff, right? And Keigo explains the whole situation, like, yeah, this girl asked him out, and like, hey, she's got these same niche interests that he does, right? But he's like, hey, no, I actually turned her down at the end of the day, right? And through all of this, they're all like, talking about all of this various stuff, and eventually, Nico's like, hey, but what if Keigo turned her down because he has somebody he already likes? as Keigo tries to visualize someone, but he can't necessarily do it, right? And he's like, hey, even if I did have a girl I like, there's no way she'd even look at a guy like me. And Kanchi's like, hey, Keigo, let me tell you something I've wanted to say for ages. You're trying to be who you ain't, and you suck at it, right? And pretty much she just goes through and beats down Keigo in this massive way. And halfway through saying all of this, Miharu comes over, holds out his hand, and Kanchi just comes through and does like a little bit of a slap with him, like their hands collide. And eventually, we just see that Miharu starts going on too and just going through all of this stuff, right? And I love the joke that literally Kanchi had to pass over the baton to Miharu to like beat into Keigo. It's just a really funny thing, right? They eventually say like, hey, alright, the setting of giving up skating turned you into hipster side aside now. Like nowadays, being a nerd is mainstream, and in fact, you could say that niche hobbies are almost required to be truly popular. But you aren't really into any of your professed hipster hobbies on a deep level, are you? Like, hey, you simply want to call yourself one, but when it comes to actual knowledge on subjects, yours is a surface level at best, right? And we eventually see that he's like, hey, especially when we have a true example of one right here pointing to Morito, the whole idea is like, hey, Keigo, for having all of these niche interests, doesn't really delve that far into them, right? And I often sometimes read the comments on the Weekly Shonen Jump or on the Viz website whenever you scroll down under a chapter. And it was pretty interesting to see a lot of people's reaction to this of like, man, like I truly like understand what Keigo's going through here. It's like I feel the same way. And honestly, I can say with confidence, as much as it is, I know that I'm just a guy who likes talking about manga and likes talking about the Digimon card game, right? Because, like, those are my two, like, big, extreme, like, hobbies I'm definitely deep into. And it's like, hey, if I'm a guy online sitting here talking to you guys about the Witch Watch manga along with 14 other series that are currently running in Weekly Shonen Jump, I am definitely too far into this interest to be doing anything else. But also, the question is raised. We know that Keigo has a YouTube channel where he talks about all of his various stuff on, like, what is it called? It's Dancing Rainbow YouTube channel and all this other various stuff. And the whole idea is like, oh, but wait, what if we all are just like Keigo? And what if there's really no true way to be a person like Morito? What is our imposter syndrome here? It's a very interesting thing that we will also be getting into later in the chapter whenever Wolf comes out, right? But all of this conversation just pretty much continues, like Keigo pretty much explains, like, hey, the whole reason I gave up figure skating was because I was afraid whenever Wolf came out, and I was afraid that it'd give me a physical advantage, right? And hey, maybe if it did, I'd be way more useful than I currently am. Morito has a few parting words, but they don't make Keigo feel any better at the end of the day. So we see that he goes and decides to go on a little bit of a walk after taking a nap. And while he's inside taking a nap, he's thinking about all of this various stuff like, hey, the reason I'm weak, the reason I can't fight by myself is I have to transform, I have to become a completely different person to do it, right? And while thinking about all of this, he's like, hey, and even if I had somebody I like, and he's thinking about it, and we see that there's the image of Nemu in his mind, but it's so bright that Keigo can't really understand who it is, right? Eventually, we see that he goes on this walk, and we see that as he's walking around, oh boy, look in that, there's the Crescent Cafe. It's a crescent. Oh no, Wolf is out now. We see the Wolf's walking around. He finds a harem of women, and he's walking around with all of those various people as he just thinks like, haha, like, oh man, the sweet taste of freedom. It's been way too long since I got out, and like, I'm gonna have fun today, and no one can stop me. Oh man, Keigo got any cash on him? Oh good, looks like he just got paid for his part-time job. What's Keigo's is mine, and everything in the world is mine. It's like, I'm hungry. I want to eat, but like not one of Morito's healthy meals. I want to eat something greasy, something nasty with sugar. And he's eventually like, maybe I'll have me some ladies first. As he pretty much goes and walks around, he eventually runs into Nemu, and he eventually like lets all of his harem of girls go away from him, and he sort of just follows Nemu around, right? And Nemu's like, hey, what do you want? He's like, stop following me. And Wolf's like, hey, I was going this way to begin with, right? And she's like, hey, are you sure? Like, you let all of those girls go? And Wolf's like, hey, I mean, yeah, who actually cares about him, right? And he's like, hey. And she's like, hey, are you completely mad? And she's like, yes, I am. As Wolf thinks back to the old, like, kitty kissing, and he's like, oh, I guess that would be it, right? And she eventually says, like, hey, Wolf, I never know what you're thinking. And Wolf's like, yeah, because I don't want people to know what I'm thinking, right? But eventually like, hey, tell me straight, you're crushing on Keigo, right? And we see that Nemu actively blushes, like, no, I'm not. And it's like, how'd you know anyway, right? And Wolf's like, hey, it's my animal instinct, you know? And he's like, hey, my feelings are private. Don't decide them for me, and that's pretty rude, right? And it was just like, hey, my feelings are private, and like, hey, don't decide them for me. That's pretty rude, isn't it, right? She's like, hey, besides, it's not like you talk about yourself either, right? And she thinks like, hey, I really don't know anything about Wolf, and just thinks about all this various stuff, right? And all of the women that he had earlier, and she's like, man, am I just another woman to him, right? As we see that Wolf breaks the silence and saying like, hey, you want to know what I'm thinking? Then fine, I'll tell you. Nemu, be mine. And Nemu's like, oh, what? Excuse me, right? And Wolf's like, hey, didn't you hear me? I said I want you to be my mate, right? And it's like, okay, end of chapter. But like, hey, I love Wolf, I love Keigo, I love Nemu. I love every character in this series, really. I mean, but definitely Keigo has been my favorite character in Witch Watch for a while, and I really love the focus that he gets on of, like, his dual personality, and, like, how he's useless and how he feels useless in one part of himself, and really, I just really enjoyed this chapter and thought the whole thing was completely awesome and amazing. Witch Watch definitely is going towards the top of the pack. You get it, pack? Because, like, wolf packs? Okay, we'll stop there. But with all that out of the way, it's time to sit down and rank all of these various chapters of manga this week, starting from the worst all the way down to the best, or going the other way around. I messed up that wording there, right? Of course, as I alluded to earlier, I'm just going to copy it over here. Astro Royale and Kill Blue are my two least favorite chapters of the week. Really, just not a whole lot there. Star of Beethoven, Star of Beethoven we're going to put next, followed up by a Sid Craft. And honestly, from there, I don't know what I want to put next. But starting from the top where we can go next, I loved Witch Watch this week. Like, it was just so good, and I felt so happy after reading it. Kagurabachi was a complete cinematic masterpiece this week that was written extremely well. And Blue Box was just as cute as always, and I just love the thing of like, hey, we have kidnapped your boyfriend, or we've kidnapped your girlfriend, Taiki. Come find her. It was just a really fun into chapter. I'm excited to see where that goes. So let's delete all of these guys. Honestly, next, this is going to sound a little weird. I'm going to put Kill Blue next because, like, damn, that chapter was pretty good. We'll follow it up with an Ichi the Witch and follow that up with a One Piece. If I could spell. One. I can't spell. That's just the answer to this. One Piece we'll put next. After all of those, we have Akane Banashi, Embers, Hema 10, Ruri Dragon, Ultimate Exodus, Kyoshi next. We'll put a Hema 10 there. Followed up with, probably Embers, then, Ulti, X-Row, Kyoshi, yeah, Akane Banashi. And of course, we'll end it off then with what do we have left? Yes. Ruri Dragon. And look at that. That's all of these series ranked just like that. But with that, that leaves us with who was my favorite character of the week. And I already know it, but let's just quickly run down all of the potential candidates. I mean, Witch Watch, Wolf I think was a pretty good option we have there. Kagurabachi, maybe like Hirohiko, or maybe like Itsuro Surakai, or yeah, Itsuro Shirakai maybe. Blue Box, then maybe Chinatsu or Taiki. Kill Blue, Ogami definitely had that amazing moment. Ichi the Witch, not really. I mean, I don't know. One Piece, I mean, Loki was intimidating as could be. But Hematin is definitely where the character of the week lies because, hey, it could be none other than Iamori. How do I spell his name? Iamo. Iamori's dad from, good old... Actually, how do I spell Iamori's name? I'm going to be real with you guys. I don't even know. I don't want to butcher it. I'm pretty sure Kana says it in the beginning of this chapter, right? Iemori. Okay, so I shoved an A in there and I didn't need it. We're going to put Iemori's dad because that guy was just really funny and I just enjoyed all of his various stuff this week. And really, that's where I've got to end this. So I actually spell hematin like that. What is my marker for hematin? Okay, it's just HT. All right, we're going to come back over here now. All right, there we go. But yeah, that was my character of the week. And with all of that out of the way, this comes to the end of the video. So thank you guys so very much for watching this video on good old Weekly Shonen Jump, issue number 14 of 2025. Like I said, we had a lot of really awesome chapters. I mean, I think everything really up the star of Beta. Maybe we'll include Loose to Samurai was a really good chapter that had me being like, man, I definitely did enjoy this. And then we have Tokyo Revengers 2, the worst sequel. We're going to leave it at that. But if you guys enjoyed this video, I have plenty of other Weekly Shonen Jump videos up on the channel. And hey, if you're not watching this on my YouTube channel, maybe you're watching it on podcasting platforms. And if you are watching this on the YouTube channel, maybe you didn't know I have this show on podcasting platforms. Go check it out there. I've got all of those links down in the description down below. Also, there'll be an in card on this video to the general playlist of all the various things and all of that. And if you're listening on podcasting platforms, well, go to @Glowplasma on YouTube and you can find all of my stuff there. Really, I don't have anything else to say. Really good chapter of manga this week. Chapters, I should say. And yeah, I'll catch you guys next time for issue number 15 of 2025 of Weekly Shonen Jump. Again, this was issue number 14. And I'll catch you guys next time. This will be Glowplasma 231, signing out.